dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to episode 10 of the Struggle to Strength podcast, your source for real-life application on how to turn your struggles into strengths in all things mind, muscle, and money. I am your host, Josh Levine, and I am joined here by my longtime friend and my co-host, Travis Hatch, and today we have an absolutely fire episode for y'all. Today we had the pleasure of talking with our homie and serial entrepreneur, Justin Jones of That Curious Jones podcast and Aktion Coffee and Supplement Company. He's doing a ton of other really cool things. Honestly, I cannot get enough of this guy. Y'all, this episode is absolutely fire. So buckle up because we're about to drop some serious knowledge bombs on you in this next hour. Before we do, we ask that if you love this episode, please give us 5 stars on Apple or give us a follow on Spotify. Share us on your socials so you can find me at Josh Levine Fitness. You can find Travis at Travis Hawks Media. Now let's go.
Yeah.
You got a sweet studio, dude.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
I feel like we should put my guitar up here. People would ask if I play.
Do you play guitar?
I have a guitar right here that I haven't played in like 15 years.
Right.
Yeah. So no, I don't.
So no.
So no, I don't.
You play guitar, Justin?
I do a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jam out.
It's the only thing that keeps me sane sometimes.
Yeah.
My son loves it, man. It's like, it's actually been a big reason why I've started playing a lot more. Not these ones. These ones kind of stay on the wall a little bit more than they used to now that I have a little kid. But, playing the acoustic with him, it's a lot of fun.
That's
Awesome.
cool.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and acoustic's great. You can take it anywhere, and you don't have to worry about him like destroying a really expensive thing. Maybe.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly it, man. I bought like a small little traveling Fender. It wasn't too expensive. It's easy to take places if I want to, and if it breaks, go buy another one.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've got some clients who they go up to Steamboat a lot. We're out in Colorado. They go up to Steamboat a lot, and he just brings his guitar. He just like plays around a fire, and they drink. And he's always joking about how he doesn't get drunk when he plays. He's too busy playing. So it's good for him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu too. That's the other way to stay sane, right?
It is. I'm trying to get my ass back into it. It's, it's a missing part of my life, and I've made excuses. I've kind of come to realize about injuries. And every time I convince myself that I'm justified, I hear somebody who's battled through injuries, and that's how they've gotten to their, next level. So I'm back at it. I've got a good group of guys, a great academy here in Pittsburgh at Stout that's, given me a lot of badass dudes to fuck me up on a couple times a week basis. So it's nice. It's humbling, I like it.
The most humbling.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. That's funny. That's kind of like how the premise of our podcast was started, was getting fucked up and making your way through it. No struggle, no strength kind of shit.
That's the story of my life, man.
Yeah. What happened to you? What'd you get hurt?
So from an injury standpoint, I hurt my disc between C3 and C4. So, just started having a lot of pain. I don't know. It's funny as it sounds. I went to a chiropractor for a lower back issue, and they put me through this goofy, stand here, put your arms out to the side. Let me, see how much pressure you're putting on this weighted mat, and put me on this protocol where they started adjusting my neck, but I had never really had any neck issues. And during that time I was painting, which, may have been the culprit on its own, but in the back of my mind, I feel like I'd painted a lot of things, and I was just painting like walls in a living room, and pulled something in my neck, and it didn't recover. And it was weeks and weeks and just not getting better, having a hard time moving, losing some feeling in my hand at times. And I finally found a really good specialist after, some kind of BS from other doctors. There's a guy here in Pittsburgh. He's actually world renowned. His name's Dr. Joe. And he did a surgery, or developed a procedure where instead of removing a disc or fusing your neck, they could go in and trim any bulging disc away through a special procedure. And it was really effective to allow you to keep mobility. But when I saw him, the problem was the way mine was kind of shifted is more inward. So it's putting more pressure right on the spinal cord when it does. And he's like, you're young, you don't want to go under the knife. So he turned me away. He wouldn't operate on me, and said, come back every couple of years. We'll look at a new MRI. we'll see how it looks, but fight through it. And so, I figured that's enough for me to put the foot on the gas again and try to get back at it.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good doctor too, honestly.
Yeah.
Like most doctors are like, yeah, sure. Like this is broken. This is how we fix it.
Cut him open.
Yeah. But kudos to that doctor, because I feel like that's kind of rare that you find that these days. You know, that he really did have your best health in mind.
Yeah, and I know I'll probably need something done at some point in time, and he'll be the first guy to go back to. It's actually it's the son, so it's Dr. Joe's son who's now like running the practice. He's now taking over. So he's a young dude. He was into judo and other types of martial arts. So we kind of hit it off and had some cool conversation. But cool story was like, I found out about this guy because there was a lot of hype when I was looking online for neck specialists. They flew in some sort of prince from Saudi Arabia and shut down this whole section of the hospital for this guy to come in and have a neck surgery done and performed by this doctor. And it generated some publicity. And so I always found that really interesting, how shit like that happens and you don't realize it until you have to find it,
Yeah.
Wow.
That's really cool. So I'm like fascinated right now.
Yeah.
Were you, when was this? Were you an entrepreneur at this point? Were you working a 9-to-5? What was going on in your life?
Yeah. So, it was really at the tail end of my corporate, I guess you call quote unquote corporate career at the time. So, I went to college, left college, went there to play baseball, just didn't focus on school, forgot that you had to go to class too.
You
didn't
do?
want to be there.
What? What's class?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just have always had that mentality that I could figure it out. I wanted to make money, and I got an opportunity to sell alarm systems door to door, kind of like through a roundabout way. I met some guys from Utah who were in this industry where in the summertime they would go to a city and they would sell alarm systems in that city. And I was like, fuck it, I'll give this a shot. I've dropped out of college. I need to make money. And these guys were making cash. So I went and did it. And it was the best exercise in rejection and being on your own. Like I grew up in a small town, man. I grew up in a town of 10,000 people in northwestern Pennsylvania. So not a whole lot going on, very kind of depressed from the golden years of oil when, a lot of money was pumping through there. And, having to leave, I went to Indianapolis my first summer. And my now wife at the time, my girlfriend, she came with me. We loaded up my car. We went out there. They put you in an apartment, and they just pay you for every alarm system that you sell. And then there's also like a back end bonus where, dependent upon ultimately how many you would sell, they would be valued more retroactively on all of them. So like you sell 200 alarm systems, every one of them is now worth $1,000, and you may have got paid $500 up front on each one of them at the base level. And then they would like pay you that bulk sum on the back end. So you could make a lot of money. I just fucked up and then decided to like not save it, try to get cute with taxes, all the dumb things that like a young college dropout would do. Right. Because why not?
Yeah.
And just learning through that, I found myself in a position where my wife was graduating college and we were engaged at the time, and she was relocating back to Philadelphia where she was from and where she had a really good job opportunity. And so I threw my name out and decided to start interviewing for jobs that I completely bullshitted my resume, like kind of embellished that I finished school because I thought that was really important.
Because who's going to check?
Yeah. And I was like going to interviews saying I had experience. I was like, okay, I watched Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio. I know that he did this in the movie at least. So let me try it. And it worked. And yeah, I got into a SaaS based software company as a business development rep. Mm-hmm. And I met a guy who took me under his wing. He was the VP of sales. He really liked me because I didn't know what I didn't know, but I came across really green, but like eager to make money and kind of like I had a lot of confidence because I had been successful in other things in my life, but I had no business being cocky at this like startup software company in Philadelphia. Like it's like, who are you?
But you also don't
But
have bad habits though. Very moldable from a manager's.
Yeah, super coachable.
Yeah.
Yeah. He liked me. And so he gave me an opportunity. And within like 6 months, that company started to grow and I got promoted to have a smaller little team under me. And then that kind of developed and I started to travel with him and he took me under his wing and took me into meetings and gave me responsibility and put me on the spot. And I really learned, you know, I flew out to Caesars Entertainment and had a multi-million-dollar deal. It just, you know, thinking back on it, I was 24. I was so like unaware, you know, but it was great. And that company sold to IBM. And so I got absorbed into IBM and I spent some time at IBM. And then I bounced around through some technology companies, just really trying to learn with this mindset of like, okay, I know where I want to go and I know where I want to be. And I want to absorb and learn in the moment, but I'm going to take every opportunity to continue to climb and get to where I want to go. And I ultimately became a vice president of sales with large responsibility of, you know, a lot of millions of dollars and a lot of clients for managed services and software. And it was a lot of fun, but it all paid this toll where like 8 years of my life went by and I'm like, what the hell has happened? I'm married. I'm happy there, but like, is this what I want to do? Or do I feel like, you know, maybe listen to too many Joe Rogan podcasts and realize like I'm more valuable than I'm giving myself credit for. And so that's kind of, I think, this big, long segue that makes it seem like I have this tremendous ego. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to get to this point where I met Travis, which was at this point in time, I said, fuck corporate America. Mm-hmm. And I bounced and I went into business in a couple of different ways, e-commerce to try to generate some income, as well as into the cannabis space, where my brother, who was living in Southern California, got into the cannabis space doing a bunch of different stuff, making money in a couple of different ways, a couple not legal at the time. Yeah. And, you know, we started a company that was an events company, and we were throwing events at different places, trying to generate, you know, a cause. We did, you know, breaking the stigma of cannabis in sports event, where we brought in some pro athletes who were supportive of legalizing cannabis. And so really trying to like do good while giving a place for brands to come in and showcase their products. And, you know, even trappers to come in and trap their shit, you know? So, it was great, you know, got to do a lot of things. But it was like the worst timing because COVID hit and events in Los Angeles were like, you know, not going to happen, especially ones where you're passing half-pound gold blunts around a party with, you know, Peter Dante playing and
true shit.
Yeah. Sushi at the bar. And, you know, I mean, it was some weird shit, but it was a lot of fun, you know? And, I met some people in that space and that evolved. And now, you know, find myself in a partnership in a coffee and natural supplements brand called Aktion, which has been a lot of fun. And I've taken a lot from the cannabis space that I've learned, and kind of brought it over here and tried to, you know, use that. And it's been a really cool experience. And then I've gotten back into the software stuff, doing some consulting and helping companies back to save money as opposed to sell them things and make money that way. So it's been a fun road.
That's cool. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's a lot. So I want to learn more about all this. I want to learn more about Aktion and the cannabis industry and your SAAS work. But first, you mentioned something that really kind of had me, well, a little bit reminiscent of some shit that I've went through, some shit that I know Travis is really the basis of this podcast being Struggle to Strength. I think a lot of times that we talk about this, when you have a life-changing event or you make a drastic change in your life like you did, moving from like saying fuck it to corporate and going all in on yourself, I think a lot of times there's almost a painful, pivotal moment that causes that to happen. And so throughout the story that you told us, I heard a lot of fuck it factor. I heard a lot of real life, like real world application on how to get by and how to make it. And then lastly, you had this injury that, you know, may have seemed almost debilitating at one point, but a lot of times that'll give you the ability to understand that, you know, you're not made of glass. You can take a hit and come back from it. How much do you think those things impacted your ability to say fuck it and go all in on yourself?
Oh, tremendously. You know, it's funny. I was having a conversation with my younger brother about this because he's at a place in time where I see a lot of similarities in our journeys in life. And I think the big thing for me is I set a goal and I knew where I wanted to go. So it makes that fuck it factor a lot easier, because to me, I was like, the goal is 100% the most important thing. And if this, I don't care if my mom and dad say this is the right, I don't care if this person thinks I'm an idiot. I don't care, because this is the only way to get to that goal. And you don't understand how important that goal is to me. That's more important. It's more important than anything. And when that's the single focus in your life and that's how focused you get, it's not hard to say fuck it and make quote unquote bad decisions. You know, but that's how you know, if you look at every success story, for the most part, unless you were handed, you know, a silver platter, everybody had you have to fight through it, man. Like it doesn't last if you don't go through the storm.
Yeah. And, oh man.
Oh, did you lose it?
Oh, I just lost it.
Oh, damn.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was just going to say, because the episode that we put out today, we talked about some of this same stuff too. And like, just because, whether it's like your friends or family, just because like they don't see the path doesn't mean that you're not on it and that you see it like clear as day.
And,
you know?
and also, like, you know, people try to have conversations with you about what you do and why you do it. And you're like, dude, I'm so deep in this that a 10-minute conversation is not going to fucking cut it. You will not understand. Like, I'll talk to you about it. I'll tell you, but I'm really just trying to get out of this conversation.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I try to humor people to an extent, but I think for the most part, I can be pretty blunt. And so a lot of people just don't even bother with me anymore. They're like, okay, he's a lost cause.
Just let him do what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good though, man. That's what it takes. So you've got what, like you listed 3 or 4 businesses?
Yeah. The coffee business is a big thing that we're doing right now. I've got great partners. You know, my buddy Joe, who's down in Austin, Rumble Johnson is a partner in the business.
Yeah. He's the man.
So I actually met AJ through the cannabis space. And so he was a big supporter, and he still is to this day. I mean, he's got a consulting business that he's involved in. I think he's got his own strain right now. So guy's awesome. He's has his own specialty blend of coffee with us. So that's been really good.
I bet that shit rocks your world.
Yeah.
I bet his coffee rocks your world.
It's called Rumble Time.
Punches you in the face.
Yeah. I want that.
It's really good. It's if you're a coffee drinker, it's really good stuff. He's been pivotal for us. The other I have my podcast has been kind of a really big focus for me. And I mean, I'm sure you guys realize it, the power of that type of a platform. It's really been center point for everything else that I'm doing, because it's given me my own media stream. It's given me my own lane to talk about things, to connect with people, to build real relationships, and then, you know, bring my own products, bring other products that I, you know, enjoy on. And, you know, that's been a good thing as well too.
Yeah. You can build that platform and then use it to like promote your own products. That's the power of that is huge. And I was super fascinated to have you on today, and appreciate you coming on, because like you do so many things, and you're kind of you're at the point where you're doing them all like at a high level. And like that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is like how yeah.
How?
Because we were Josh and I were talking about that earlier, because like between like for me personally, between real estate, podcasts, my video business, I have like 4 businesses, you know, kind of going right now, and it's like, you know, it's kind of like a daily battle, like managing all of that and staying focused and not getting overwhelmed in something that is just blatantly overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like I was thinking of it as like surfing, like, you know, surfers, like they don't like battle against the ocean because it'll destroy you. It's like if you get smashed underwater, you relax. You learn how to like swim out with the tide instead of like against it. And like, that's kind of how I think of it. Cause it is like, it's a lot, man, like doing all that. So
Yeah. I think of it like almost like CrossFit because very few people are elite at several different things that you have to be good at for CrossFit. You're running like 4 or 5 different businesses. You need some serious structure to be elite at every single one of those things. So how do you do that?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know how, you know, there's people who are, the crazy thing is there's people who are even way more successful and, you know what I mean, and focused.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it's number one, having the drive to even want to get up and do it, because there's days where it's a grind for sure. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have this, you know, I worked all day long, you know, in my, what I do now through the day. I had Aktion business going on at that time. I went to left jujitsu, came home, took a quick shower, came down here, log on. I'm going to get off, eat dinner. My wife's on her way home. I mean, that's a key right there, is I've got a great support system.
Yes.
You know, I have people who I've aligned with, and, you know, I hate to ever say I don't say I've removed people from my life, but I spend time, and I've, you know, thankfully I've got a wife that's that way, where I have the ability to say, hey, look, I need time, and they support my goal. They're common goals. Right. So that's really important. I think the other thing is knowing that sometimes not making a decision is worse than making the wrong decision, and knowing which types of decisions you can have that mentality, and which types of decisions maybe you actually need to spend more time on and consult a mentor. And it starts to just become measuring every decision with kind of like a risk parameter, and knowing like things that are low risk, follow your gut, make a decision quickly. You know what I mean? Don't get tied up, because when you have so many things going on, if you know, you can be organized, and so that's good, but then you also have to manage your time wisely. You have to manage it in the places where you're going to get the biggest return. And so you have to be honest with yourself and know what's worth it, but also know, you know, what's to come. So where do you know, maybe something that's not giving you a quick return, but might be a good investment of your time because of where it's going to lead. You have to be able to kind of sense that, and you can't be afraid to fail. That's more than anything for me. I have failed at so many things. People, like, especially when you come from a small town, people who don't leave that small town love to focus on the things that you didn't do well.
I come from a small town.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
You know, and trust me, I'm my biggest critic. But being honest with that, and I think also knowing what I'm not good at, and trying to tap into the network that I've built, because everybody that I've met along the way, I mean, geez, you know, I mean, it's like, met Travis through the cannabis space, stayed in contact with him. You know, he's created content for my coffee and supplements company. I'm on your guys' podcast now. I mean, it's a trickle down effect. And if you're consistency, you can suck at shit. As long as you show up and you do it, I mean, that's more than half of the battle.
Yeah.
You just got to want it, you know?
Yeah, that consistency point is very crucial, because I feel like, at least in the fitness space, I get a lot of people who are asking, hey, what's the best plan? I'm like, the one you can fucking follow.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'll write you like any plan, or you're the best plan. But if you can't follow it, if all you did was 3 things every day, but you did it consistently, and you did it even like remotely good, you'd progress. And you're right. It's the same thing with your business. The thing I like that I think everyone can get better at is that piece about taking action when you're unsure, even if it's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
That's a really hard thing to get good at, or like,
well, and
feel
I think
comfortable with.
I think also what you said, Justin, about identifying how risky it is. Like if it's like a low risk thing, just make a decision, like
move on with your
don't
life.
don't think twice about it, and just kind of understanding that filter of like how much risk, how much impact, and being able to make, do I need to think about this for a few days, or is it like, boom, make a decision?
Yeah. Do I need to consult my mentor?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So you must have mentors, right?
I do. I have a lot of people who I, reach out to when I'm stuck, people who have coached me along the way. And I think they all have different things that I've absorbed through. I mean, I've absorbed things from everybody, everybody that I've really ever probably encountered. You try to take something from. I try to have that mentality more now that I'm aware. Sometimes the best lessons come from the least expected places,
Totally. Yeah. Do you kind of have more of like, because there are some people who have traditional mentor coach type setup.
Yeah, like I do.
So for me, I'm more of have like a network. Like I have a bunch of people. Like I don't have like an actual mentor, but I have a bunch of people that I'm in constant communication with that I learn from. Like Josh is one of them. Like we're all like kind of building and growing like together. And there's different people that I can, would consult about different things. Like, do you feel like you have more of like a network or?
Yeah. I mean, I probably have 2 or 3 people who, when I'm going through something, I know I can call them. I know I want their opinion on things, and they're really kind of across the spectrum in how they would approach things. So it's more for me. I want to get other people who I know aren't thinking the way that I'm thinking. I want to know what they're thinking. And I want to hear a couple of different ideas that, maybe one of them sparks interest, maybe I get excited about that, and that's the path. Or maybe it's a combination of both, or maybe it's a validation of my own idea.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think, for me, the mentors that I have now are more in, they were pivotal early on. They empowered me, because I think a big part of it is being secure in yourself, right? Like that was the thing for me. Like I wasn't always the most secure person. I had a lot of insecurities. I didn't realize it at the time, like anxiety and shit like that builds up and causes you to be indecisive and not want to act. It's like when I look back on it, it's so obvious, you know what I mean? And the probably biggest mentors that I have, they built me up, they created, some worth and made me believe that I, could do some of the shit that I could, before I probably was able, like I said, before I was able to. I know that to be the case. Mm-hmm. And so I owe them a lot. And so I'll always tap in where I can.
That's super valuable. And yeah, the anxiety of making right decisions and understanding what that feels like and being able to recognize it and being able to recognize how distorted those thoughts can be is a major step in the right direction. But I think still everyone, we talked about this on our last episode or last one we recorded, everyone still deals with imposter syndrome, like all the time. So that never ends, I assume. I don't know. I feel like it's always going to be a part of me.
I can't imagine it does.
No.
Yeah. I've asked that question to people who I'm like, at your success level,
yeah.
And they're like, no, man, it's still, there's days where I have to like kind of ask, like look myself in the face and say, no, you actually do belong here. Mm-hmm. And it creates a lot of anxiety. So mm-hmm. I don't ever feel, I pinch myself every day and I go into a room. I'm like, they're going to know, they're going to find out.
Yes, dude.
It's the reason why I prepare. Like I try to prepare for everything. I'm a big like pre-call person for work and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I got to go over all of this. And it's because I don't feel like I usually feel like I'm going to be asked something that I'm not going to know because somebody's going to be smarter than me. And that's always still there.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of never want to be the smartest person in the room anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes down to getting comfortable and feeling confident about saying, I don't know.
That's
You know
a
what I mean?
superpower, dude.
Yeah.
That is a superpower.
Like being able to say, I don't know to anyone and feel confident about that, because I think so much of this comes down to just confidence, you know? Like if you can be confident saying like, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll go get it.
I'm going to find
but
out.
I'll go get it for you.
Yeah.
Like if you can be confident saying that, I mean, it's the difference I feel like between someone saying, I don't know, insecurely and saying, I don't know with confidence is like, those things are like on two different ends of the spectrum, you know, but it's the same idea as like that's huge.
Yeah. And it's way better than giving a bullshit answer and either sounding like an idiot or not, like being very obvious that you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey buddy.
What's up?
Hey, there's that support system.
Yeah.
No, but
To the podcast.
You guys you're so right. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I love the fact that I even when I do know the answer, sometimes will play off that I don't know the answer, because it can be you can use that to your advantage. I love, being the new person somewhere where you can, be like, hey, you know what? I really don't know the answer to that. It gives you time to go back, confer with your team. You don't have to make a really hasty decision. And, there's, to your point, as long as you have the confidence and are comfortable saying that.
Yeah. That's like, I forgot who said this. That's a pause though. It's not a hesitation. If you don't know the answer to something and you hesitate and you try to bullshit it, people are going to know. But someone said winners pause, losers hesitate. So pause, say, I don't know, go back, powwow with your team, confirm that it is the right answer, make a game plan, and you're going to seem like a fucking animal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I wish I would have listened to this podcast before I made that vital mistake many times. I've gone in, and that's how I've learned, right? Is getting diarrhea mouth and talking way too much and going in, and you don't realize who's on the other side of the table from you sometimes, and they're baiting you in and asking you questions to discredit you. Maybe they don't want your services and their boss is making you talk to them, and they're just waiting for the opportunity to make you look like a fool. And you're so excited and juiced up. They ask you some questions and they goat you into an answer, and then they flip the script on you quicker than you can realize. And you're left standing there, oh shit.
Yeah. You probably learned a lot of that in your door-to-door sales. I know I did. My first job was with WB Mason, and we did business-to-business sales. I'd walk into businesses trying to sell them whatever we had. I got told to fuck off more times than I can count. I cannot even tell you. And it does build a level of resilience. But yeah, at the same time, you got to know when to shut up. If you're in sales, and most people, especially if you're starting a business, you're going to be in sales. So know when to shut up. The best thing you can do on a sales call
80% of the time, shut up.
is stop talking, especially when you go to talk about your pricing. Say your pricing and then shut up, and don't say anything until it gets really awkward and they have to speak first.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the biggest misstep that most people make in sales is they want to tell you, they want to tell you as opposed to, ask questions, gather information, when you, and then when you are going to say something, tell a story.
Yeah.
Captivate people. One of the things that I used to do in sales training, and people would laugh, but I think they would actually come away from it with more than they would have watching like your traditional IBM sales slide presentation to talk about, the Challenger sales method or whatever the hell, this company or that company is using. There's a scene in The Internship with Vince Vaughn.
Love that
and
movie.
Owen Wilson. And it's where they're doing an interview and they're asked about if they were dropped into the bottom of a blender. And, they start talking, but then he tells a story ultimately, and it's really captivating. And it's kind of a big, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, right?
Love that.
It's how they end up getting the internship, right? Yeah. So I always think about Vince Vaughn as like this great storyteller. and he captivates you with the story. And there's no difference in sales, right? I mean, it's human to human interaction. So you have to be able to captivate your audience. People don't buy from people they don't like. That's just a fact. If you're an unlikable person, that's okay. Just recognize it, be self-aware enough to know it, and try to make the adjustments. Because I mean, you even see it, look at like in Hollywood, you'll see these people who on camera, they're so charismatic and they're so, awesome. And then it's like in real life, they're a dud, they can turn it on. They're acting. And it's like, they know how to put it on and they know how to turn it on, but it's just a facade.
Yeah. That's an important skill to have. And it takes a lot of self-awareness, of course. You have to understand a lot about yourself and then practice turning it on and not feeling like an idiot. Or like when we first started this podcast, and anybody who's ever recorded themselves will attest to this. You hate the way you sound.
Oh, yeah. How was it for you starting your podcast?
It's different for me. My brother and I had a podcast called the Bud Brothers. And so while we were in the cannabis space, it was kind of a similar thing, right? We wanted to do a podcast, build our network, use it as a way to distribute information, be valuable for people. And we did 6 or 7 episodes where we talked with different people on location in Los Angeles. We did some at the Standard Hotel. We had like Adam Ill and a couple other CEOs of brands at the time. But it was too difficult for me especially when COVID again happened, to be flying back and forth to LA, and my wife was pregnant at the time. So it just, priorities shifted. And when everything happened for this whole COVID situation, I was like, you know what? I'm using Zoom a lot. I'm going to go and do the podcast again, but I'm going to do it on my own. And I had this idea of the Curious Jones. It's been something I've kind of tossed around with other projects, and it kind of stuck. And I started with some buddies from my network. I had Rumble on. I had a friend that did a cross-country journey, drove through every state and stayed and smoked weed with his girlfriend in every state with a local. That's awesome. They had a really cool story. And so I wanted to have him on and to like kind of talk about what that journey was like. And it was during the election. So, it was during the campaign. So he kind of had some real interesting perspectives of life and whatnot, but
going state to state. Yeah.
It's just been, I enjoy talking to people and learning stuff. And there's a part of it where it's cool to share it with people, and it grows. And podcasts are just exponential. It's you reach a big new audience, especially because I try to talk, I think like you guys are, with a wide range of people. I'll have somebody from the MMA community on, and they'll reshare things. And, Tim Kennedy, I had on my podcast, and he shared it. And I have all these military people hitting me up and, following my social medias, and you capture a small portion of that forever, and then you talk to somebody. I talked to a neuroscientist, and I got a bunch of science people that are like, okay, hey, when are you going to have another science type podcast on? But you keep some of them, and you do it enough, and you broaden your network, you grow your audience, you get leverage in a weird kind of way, but as long as you do it the right way, you get good leverage. And I think you can build yourself into a very well-rounded person if you're open-minded enough to listen.
That's a really good perspective. And I mean, so far, we're not too many episodes in. I love it, really, just because I get to pick people's brains who I think are really interesting.
Yeah.
It's honestly like, it's the greatest thing. I'm always learning. I'm always interested in learning a really wide variety of things. I go down Reddit rabbit holes all the time. So this is like, I get to bring an expert and just pick your brain for an hour. This is the greatest thing ever to me.
Yeah.
What's some of the like weird shit that you're really into right now? Like that's really captivated you?
So I've obviously fitness is like one of the top things. I'm super into drugs, psychedelics, and recently Reddit. I've been all over the Today I Learned subreddit and the science ones, learning about weird shit that doesn't matter, but it's fascinating. So actually, that's something that I kind of wanted to talk to you about. Your coffee company. So you came from cannabis and then you went to coffee.
Yeah.
Right. And are you still in both?
I have some interest in the cannabis space, but I don't spend a whole lot of focus doing that at the moment. My focus is in the coffee shop.
Coffee and supplements, right?
Yep.
Now, your supplements, they use mushrooms, right?
So that's something that I probably am breaking news right now. So we're in the process of developing a mushroom blend coffee that's going to include 2 or 3 different mushrooms that will be for immunity, for endurance, things like cordyceps or lion's mane. I think turkey tail is another one that we've looked at. So thankfully for me, I've got a really great partner, Joe, he does all the roasting. He's down in Austin, Texas. And so he's actually he created Aktion. That was his vision. He used to work at On It. He was a VP of operations.
No way.
Yeah. So he was one of the original employees there, worked there for 6 or 7 years. And then he left a couple of years ago to pursue Aktion and started it really as a specialty coffee brand, importing beans from a farm in Guatemala and craft roasting them in small batches upon people's order, and grow it really slow, developed a few retail locations. And then I got involved at the end of 2019, right before everything kind of happened. And, he wanted to supercharge it, wanted to bring and build the brand bigger. So, that was kind of the plan. And it was like, what a year to try to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
It certainly wasn't easy, but I think are in a good position right now. We've got a lot of support. We've got some, good products on the market. We've got everything from coffee, whether you like whole bean, ground, K-cup, if you want light roast all the way to dark roast. If you're into, a big one for us is hemp and turmeric.
Yeah.
So CBD and curcumin, really good for anti-inflammation.
I felt that a lot of the time with those supplements, you don't necessarily feel something right away. I definitely did with those. Like those are great.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of mushrooms too. I years ago, after one of my surgeries is when I really started learning about it. And the first one that I really noticed a positive effect from was I had a surgery. I had some numbness in my hip following the surgery, and I was doing some research, and I found that lion's mane was great for nerve regeneration and mental clarity. So I was like, okay, I feel like it's a nerve issue. I'm going to start taking it. So it cleared up the numbness in my hip, which well, was actually more in my groin. So I was like, I can't be numb in my groin. This shit's got to go. This is like not conducive right now. But it cleared that up in like a week. And what I noticed is I kept taking it and my brain was so sharp. I used to get what I would call micro sleeps where I would like just be talking and forget what I was saying.
Yeah.
And
I did that like a few minutes ago, I think.
You need some lion's mane, dude, because I've never felt sharper.
Yeah.
So you've got lion's mane, cordyceps, and there's probably a reishi or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know. So the problem is the big thing Joe is like huge on, and I'm glad because it's a big staple for us, is the taste. It's like there's so many different coffee brands. So he's in the process now of kind of narrowing down a couple of different blends that when you roast it, or actually I think he's mixing it after it's roasted, but when you would brew it, it doesn't taste like shit, so to speak. So he's got a couple of blends, but I definitely think cordyceps are in there. I definitely think lion's mane, and I want to say turkey tail, but I'd have to go back and ask. I'll send you guys a message and let you know for sure. But it may be in partnership with a fairly prominent jiu-jitsu gym that's got a fairly psychedelic group of people
in Austin, Texas, perhaps
that might be them. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say that yet, but I think if you kind of know, then you know, and if not, stay tuned, keep an eye out on social media. We should be announcing something soon, but it'll be a cool partnership, and that'll be the first of hopefully a lot of things that we're doing with those guys, and excited when we can officially announce it.
That's awesome. I'm very interested in learning more about that, especially because cordyceps has been pretty pivotal in working its way into the fitness space in its performance enhancement.
Yeah. No, I used to take it all the time.
Yeah. Now you have caffeine, which is a performance enhancer, plus cordyceps, plus lion's mane. You're sharp. It seems like a no-brainer. I'm kind of baffled that no one's done this before.
Yeah, there's a couple out there, not that same mixture, which is interesting. And I know that the group of guys that I'm working with had some conversations before I got involved with, I want to say maybe Brendan Schaub. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Sorry guys, if I did not, but it didn't really go anywhere. So like they kind of had some really good ideas, and me once again with bad, judgment that's going to work out in my favor, because, it's like I think we found something cool. It's all hitting at the right time.
That's really
I just
cool.
had Ian McCall on my podcast. He's a former UFC veteran from the featherweight division. And he has, over the last few years, been completely reborn due to mushrooms, and has now been a big advocate in helping get this study with Johns Hopkins University and the UFC started. So I don't know if you saw the news, Dana White got behind it. They're testing UFC fighters for brain injury and seeing the effects of psilocybin mushrooms on traumatic brain injury and CTE. And so Ian was a big part of that. He went to Jeff Nowitzki. He helped facilitate the studies. He's got a fiance I think she's a research scientist at UCLA. And I need to talk to him about having her on to have some conversations, but he came on and really shed some light about all of what's really going on and how it's been impactful for him, because everything from ego, being a professional fighter, I don't want to speak for him, but what he kind of shared with me was that's been hard for him, but you have to be a savage. You have to be singularly focused to be at the top levels of a sport like that. And that's tough when you stop, and you're still, that you're still tough, and you see people, it can mess with your head. So I think psychedelics have been a tool for him there. And I think also just from the traumatic brain injury and inflammation reduction that mushrooms are showing more and more through a lot of studies are beneficial,
I'm a huge fan.
That's interesting.
I mean, I'm pretty open about it. I'm a huge fan of psilocybin and psychedelics. I think it's provided a massive amount of value to myself, to a lot of my friends and colleagues, to the shadow work that's required to understand who you are as a person, what needs to be improved. I mean, it seems as though we're coming into a new age where this is the beginning of the age of mushrooms, where cannabis was, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think psilocybin is going to make the same sort of progression that cannabis did, or are people going to be afraid of it because it has literal mind-altering capabilities?
I'm sure there'll be more regulation because of the fact that it's a little heavier than, smoking a joint, but it should be legal. I mean, let alone, I mean, I'm with you, right? I'll sit here and argue all day long about the medical benefits of these types of things, whether it's, psychotherapy treatments where you're able to help really recarve the pathways inside the human brain, where, people who have had post-traumatic stress for years are able to go in and with the help of some very skilled professionals, and I'm sure, intense therapy sessions in combination with these types of compounds, which are natural. They're, they don't kill people. They don't cause addiction. They don't destroy families and friendships and ruin lives. They help people. And as a kid, as a teenager, I went into the woods and ate a bunch of mushrooms, and I guess you can use that as an excuse to deprive the rest of humanity the ability to save themselves in a lot of ways.
Well, it's a
When
tool.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I would go into the woods and slam like a 30-pack of beer.
Yeah.
Those you can buy
I
that
did
at a
that
gas
too.
station.
Yeah,
So,
I did that too.
like,
But again, I think, I don't know. I don't see a benefit to, and this is a whole nother fucking podcast, but I don't see a benefit to alcohol. But psilocybin and most drugs are tools. You can use a tool improperly, and most kids do. But when used properly, it has massive benefit.
by an adult.
By an adult, 18 years of age or older.
Yeah.
I would argue that it's had a profound benefit and impact on my professional career. And I think a really pivotal thing is that whether it was family or work, I was always, to a point, I was somewhat honest with the people who I needed to be. And, if you have this guilt fear that people are judging you because of something that's benefiting you, then you're losing all the benefit.
Yeah.
Like why am I'm doing this to remove anxiety, but I'm stressed the fuck out that the people who I care about are going to judge me. Now I have more anxiety. And it's just like pointless. Right. So having that support system, as well as on a professional side, I didn't have to hide shit, but the expectations never changed. It was like, look, I don't give a fuck what you're doing. As long as when I ask for this to be done by 11 a.m., it's done by 11 a.m. And by the way, I like you and you get paid a lot of money because you usually have it to me by 10. And so that never changed. And I'm happy that I had those expectations on me. And it was like probably the perfect set of circumstances to keep me honest. And a lot of people can struggle because it can be demotivating. You can sit around and play video games and do your thing, but it doesn't have to go that way. And I am living proof of that. And, maybe I'm lucky. I don't know.
Most of my high performing friends utilize something,
Yeah.
and you got to open up your brain somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm with you, man. 100%. So it'll be regulated. And I agree with that. How far out do you feel like we are? I mean, I'm just asking because you guys were in the cannabis industry, so you kind of saw
federally.
Well, yeah, because Oregon's already decriminalized or legalized.
Yeah,
Denver's decriminalized.
Oregon decriminalized like
everything.
I think, or
Yeah.
Portland did. The city of Portland.
Yeah, Denver's
Hey,
decriminalized psilocybin.
You can light the police department on fire in fucking Oregon. Mushrooms? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. They just grow there. Of course you can have them. Yeah, you know how cows are in Oregon?
Yeah.
No, I would say federally within 10 years, and it's probably going to be sooner than that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in store for some fairly progressive politics over the next 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, and the fact that I think public opinion is pretty just like, who gives a fuck? And there's just mounting evidence of positive benefit for people that you can't ignore. You can't ignore. And a lot of the regulations are in the way of the proper research that needs to be done on a large scale to get funding for the type of research that's needed. I mean, that was a part of the whole UFC problem. They wanted to do this a couple of years ago, but because of certain laws, they were just not able to make it happen. And that stuff needs to change. And I think it will. I just want to know if they're here. I mean, are they brought here from aliens? I mean,
yeah, right.
Maybe Joe Rogan brought him here.
Yeah, there's a good possibility.
That's awesome. Well, shit, man. Trav, do you have anything else?
I've
thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people that listen to the podcast are listening because they're, we're in a weird time right now where people are losing their jobs, or any sort of like stable type of, income is like blatantly not stable now. People are losing their jobs, they're getting furloughed, whatever. And I think a lot of people are looking to shake things up, change what they're doing, start a business. So I guess kind of my signing off question to you is like, for somebody who's in that position, how do they get started? Because I think, there's a lot of different fears and anxieties. They don't know what they want to do necessarily, or they have tons of different options and they don't know what to pick, or they just don't know where to go or get started. So as somebody who's, been in that position quite a few times, with different business ventures, like, yeah, what's like a thing that somebody could do to kind of get started today?
First, make your bed in the morning. It's very cliche and corny to say, but it does start there, right? It's first thing I would say is you need to build yourself and to get a base level of comfort with yourself. I think we said earlier that, like, are you secure? Are you secure in who you are? Because you could spend a lot of time and effort doing something to get 6 months in and then get to a point where now you're really self-conscious because you never did the work on yourself. So if you're in a place, know that you don't have to have the solution tomorrow, and that there is no easy road. There's no button that you hit that gets you there tomorrow. It takes hard work and it takes consistency. So if you know that, the best thing you can do is work on the aspects of yourself that you need to at the core base level. And if it takes an extra 6 months to build those habits in so that you can successfully then get to that next step, it might take you 2 years to ultimately get to where you want to go. But if you have clearly defined goals, and I think have goals that are short-term and long-term in nature, what are those long-term goals? Look at them constantly, but also have short-term goals that you need to meet. And, as long as you do that and you show up every day, you'll be where you want to be, man.
Hell yeah.
Elon Musk said this, and this is, I'll leave you with, and I firmly believe this. Look at your 10-year plan and try to make it happen in 6 months. You're not going to do it, but you're going to be way closer than you would have if you just approached it as a 10-year plan.
I like that.
Yeah, we've talked about this. You'll do whatever you were planning on doing in the time that you allow yourself to do it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So why not just give yourself less time and get more done?
Exactly.
I love that.
And a lot of the non-essentials kind of just like miraculously drop away. You're like, fuck this, fuck that, fuck that. I'm like,
the important shit really rises to the top.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, shit, Justin, it's been awesome having you on, man. I'm sure
so much.
We're going to have you on again because I have like a million more questions that I'm going to want to pick your brain about. And we want to keep up to date on how things are going with your businesses. So,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Where, before we leave, I know our listeners are probably going to want to find you and interact with you. And we have a pretty great community here with this podcast. So where can people find you and your businesses and learn more about what y'all do?
Yeah. So social media wise, it's at That Curious Jones. So you can find me there. I think that's on all platforms. And then on the business side, it's at Drink Action, and Action's with a K, Aktion. And the website's drinkaction.com. Same thing. And if you use code CURIOUS, you'll get 15% off your order. So who doesn't like a discount?
Yeah.
I will be buying a fat bag of coffee after this.
I will be buying a fat bag of the mushroom coffee when it comes out too.
I can't wait for that.
I am hyped for that.
We'll get you out the moment it drops. I'll make sure I send you guys a bag of the mushroom coffee.
Hell yeah.
My word on.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much again. Thank y'all for tuning in. This is episode 9?
10?
10?
10, I think.
I never know. Whatever. I can't count past 4. Episode 10 of the Struggle to Strength podcast. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Justin, thank you so much for joining us again. We'll have you on soon. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.